Interviews with haunting gurus.
Blowing in from the Legends of the Fog haunted attraction in Aberdeen, Maryland. I'm hanging out with the project manager, Michael MJ. Jonathan, what's shaking, MJ?
Hey, how's it going? Thank you for having me. This is super cool. So,
Oh, the pleasure's all on this side of the table. Anyway,
too kind.
Yeah, it was kind of funny when we were chatting on Facebook Messenger, and you were like, "No, dude, man, I'm really excited," and I'm like, "Have you listened to the show yet?"
Unfortunately, man, I'm honestly I'm new to the show. I guess in a weird way, I'm kind of old school. I'm still trying to utilize the internet machine better. Yeah, when I got the word, I definitely looked you up, and I'm like blown away. Y'all have been doing this for a while now, I can tell you put in a lot of effort in the sort of the production of the show. So, this is amazing to kind of have this opportunity to speak on your platform, so thank you. It's quite the honor.
Ed told me to contact you because I was like, "Hey, Ed, I'm looking for an interview, somebody in the pro haunt side of things who's like in the trenches, in the thick of things, building sets, actor training, doing this, doing that." And this is a guy. Contact him. I've worked with him at Duck Hour for a couple of years, and he's like, he'd be a great guy to chat up with. So anyway, here we are.
Awesome. Yeah, Ed's the man.
Yeah.
I'm lucky enough to get to work with him on a bunch of projects. Learned, so much. Forever grateful for my experience. Getting to know him, and I do. I love haunts, man. I love doing this stuff. So I try to get my hands in as much of it as I can. It's every kind of part of it, is exciting and intriguing. I'm not good at everything, so I'm always kind of learning too. I just try to keep at it and do better every time.
Like they say, a jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah, that probably has some truth over here. I would not say I'm a master of anything, but I try really hard at all of them.
I remember reading a quote. This was from Bruce Lee, and I'm going to paraphrase it and butcher the shit out of it anyway, but you can either be the best with your hands or the best with your feet if you try to be an overall martial artist, hands, feet, elbows, knees, everything. He's like, you'll be mediocre or you'll be average at all. So, you know what I mean? Like you can't, because if you only focus on one thing, if you only focus on like punching a guy in the face, you're going to get really good and you'll be an expert at punching some guy in the face, but and I think that kind of applies to no matter what. But of course, there's so many different facets of haunting. How could you possibly be amazing at them all? There's just too much. You could be good at a lot of things, but you can't possibly master them all.
That's one of the reasons I love haunts, is like making them is they incorporate kind of so many different skill sets, creative, technical, just it really takes a team to kind of, put on a show because kind of like you said, not one person really has all of these skill sets, that's like having, the Infinity Gauntlet or something. It's just very rare. So, I started Haunted House, working in them as an actor. And I love that. That's kind of always been my number one passion in it, But I think I kind of started to realize, well, if I want to do more work in the industry, then I have to learn some additional skill sets in order to kind of find that work. Haunted house acting is there's a lot less of that going on than there is haunted house building or even haunted house promoting. So I've just figured, I better learn as much as I can in every department so I can be, hopefully helpful to anybody.
Yeah, you have to. You really. It's almost you have to be a Renaissance man. You have to be able to do it all. I mean, I just look at the things that I've picked up over the years, and believe me, I'm not great at all of these things, but you pick up little things like how to paint a set, how to do this technique, or learning VSA for a 3-axis skull, or programming a prop controller. And there's all kinds of different controllers, makeup, and all of these there's so many pieces of the puzzle. It's unbelievable. So anybody who can even could be average at them all is still probably close to be considering a master. Like you say, you talk to a guy like Ed, who, oh my God, the skill set this guy has is unbelievable.
Yeah, the human Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, I'm just lucky that he does a segment on our show, and he's been working with us for the last, I don't even know, 5 years, 6 years or something like that. But yeah, it's just great being able to listen to some of his little stories and some of the stuff that he comes up with. I'm not sure if it may be lost on some, but I really appreciate all these little stories. Hopefully we'll be able to pull a few out of you tonight.
Yeah.
Anyway, so look, we're gonna jump in the Throwback Thursday machine and rewind back to your humble haunt beginnings, and let's talk a little bit about how you kind of got your first taste in the business.
So I was kind of always like, a weirdo class clown, theater kid. I like the kind of playing pretend with my G.I. Joes or some kind of homemade costumes. I would say when I was about 16 or so, a buddy of mine found out that a haunted house was hiring actors. To be honest with you, like, I had never been to a haunted house. They, kind of scared the crap out of me as a kid. But I figured, well, I really enjoy acting. This is a chance I get to see kind of behind the scenes a little bit. So, I should kind of face my fears and do it. And I went. It was for Legion of Terror in Ohio at the IX Center, and I just loved it. I loved it. Like the face-to-face interaction with guests walking through, and your sort of kind of initial action and their reaction. That burst of energy was amazing. I've done some like film acting, and that to me is kind of like you're just performing for the director or the camera. I've done some theater acting, but that's kind of up on stage in front of a crowd. But haunt acting is like face to face in everybody's personal bubble, and that I really enjoy that sort of energy. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I love kind of haunted house acting so much. And that was really my first taste, was when I was about 16. I kind of did that for 2 years, the second year being at Bloodview. Unfortunately, I stopped doing it for like the next 5 or 10 years because I ended up kind of traveling around the country, going to film school, doing a couple other things. And then one day I kind of realized, man, the funnest job I ever had was working in that haunted house. I thought, I wonder if there's other haunted houses open that are hiring. So I would say that probably around like 2010, 2011, I just started looking on the internet, all right, jobs, haunted house jobs. And I found another one, and that was just kind of kept going after that.
So you were living in Ohio?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Ohio from like till I was about 18.
Well, you kind of bopped around and then you came back to Ohio again.
Yeah. The family, is all there. But when I turned 18, I decided to kind of hit the road and do a lot of traveling. During that time, though, I wasn't really aware of the haunted house industry. I really enjoyed acting in it, but I wasn't really like participating in my personal life with it. I just thought, hey, that was kind of a once in a lifetime thing. It'll probably never happen again. So I ended up working kind of odd and end jobs, restaurant jobs, trade skill jobs, just to kind of pay the bills as I drove around the country. And it wasn't until like about 10 years later where I actually came back to haunting, and I think I really found, my sort of groove, my like real personal love for it. So I'd say all in all, this is probably like my 10th Halloween season as a haunter.
It says here in your bio that you were doing some makeup artist. You were a makeup artist at Forsaken Haunted House. So that's when you got back, when you said, oh, let's go see if we can find a haunted house. And boom, there was Forsaken, and what you interviewed. And what you see, you already had a pretty good skill set as far as, you were kind of skilled at doing some makeup.
Yeah, I found Forsaken, I think it was on the Craigslist ad on the internet, that a haunted house was hiring actors and makeup artists and managers. The haunt was called Forsaken Haunt, and it was their first year opening. So I went to their auditions and interviews and rehearsals. The people there at Forsaken were kind of what I call like some of my original haunt family. There's people there like Killer Katie, Laura Reeves, like Frank Gadget, just so many. I don't want to name drop, but like so many really caring, awesome, nurturing people there who, even though I didn't have much experience, working in haunts, they really, really kind of planted the seed in me of loving what we do. So I'll always be forever grateful for Forsaken. And the funny thing was, like, I wasn't even that good of a makeup artist. I think I ended up spending a lot of time queue line sliding and roaming the attraction, kind of breaking actors, giving them waters, making sure they were all good, and also kind of scaring people.
Yeah, because now I know that you've done some sliding at a number of different haunts over the years. I don't think I've seen any sliders up close and personal. At the haunts that I've been to, I just haven't seen them. They just didn't have that open kind of walkways or whatever that you could do it. And I'd love to see some serious sliding. How physically demanding is that, and how hard is it to learn?
Definitely physically demanding. You're kind of basically wearing knee pads with like a hard plastic cover. You're wearing gloves with metal fingertips. Sometimes the sliders incorporate like magnesium sparker bars in their gloves. And basically you're kind of ideally out on a smooth surface. The smoother the surface, the further the slide. And you kind of either, take a few steps forward or take a sprinting start and then jump on your hands and knees. And that kind of your momentum forces you to slide against, the surface that you're on. It gets a great reaction from crowds, especially in queue lines, especially if you're on a good kind of smooth surface, like even blacktop or a smooth asphalt. The noise it makes, the sparks that they create. I called it bowling because, you get like a good circle of people standing around. And if you can kind of time your slide and get right in the middle of that circle, they all just scatter, like explode from the center. I think it's really visually impressive. Like you said, not a lot of haunts have them around, and I think that's because they really need the surface or the area to do it. It takes a lot of space. Now,
have you ever seen Sliders of Ghost Town? It's a movie that was put out, kind of a documentary.
Yes.
Awesome. So
I haven't seen them in person, but they've always been kind of a huge inspiration for me. Where basically like the not scary farm sliders over there.
Yeah.
When I was learning how to do it, I was definitely watching their YouTube videos, trying to learn their tips and tricks, off the internet. I did get to see their show at Scara Lake Convention one year. The Decade Brigade put on an awesome slider show. It was something kind of new for me because I've always kind of usually been the only slider at a haunt. Sometimes there was maybe one or two others, but I was always kind of scaring people with the slides. Like it was just me versus the crowds. But what I saw the Decayed Brigade doing was they had like a team of sliders, and they were like putting on a stunt show. They were flipping over each other, jumping over each other. Thought that really took it to the next level. That was like that would be an amazing midway show. So they weren't only utilizing, haunt sliding as a scare tactic, but also as a way to entertain a crowd. So that was pretty cool. I hadn't done it like that before. I was like at Forsaken, I met with Katie Lane. Katie Lane was my original haunt sliding teacher, mentor, I guess. I remember she walked in with the knee pads, and I said, are you here to teach us how to slide? And she said, no, I'm here to teach you how to die. And she gave us, a few hours, me and maybe a handful of others who were really into it, gave us a few hours of some tips and tricks. And basically almost every weekend after that, myself and a few others would come into the haunt and just practice. We put hours and hours into it. We would make a lot of our own gear. We would customize and modify our knee pads, our gloves, our steel toe boots, our costumes. Like we just spent all of our time kind of, becoming the best haunt sliders we could. And it was awesome. Like, and like you said too, man, I have kind of been a haunt slider at a lot of different haunts before. It seems to be something that a lot of cast managers or even owners are into. And I think if that's because I've had that skill set on my resume, let's say, that probably has opened several doors for me. Just the fact of, that I practiced and developed my skills as a haunt slider. So that's another one of those kind of departments, another kind of something I learned and picked up along the way that allowed me to get to do a little more in the haunt industry. I'm very lucky, I feel very blessed to get to do it. And I enjoyed it. I really enjoy haunt sliding.
You were bopping around and you were hitting a lot of the other local haunts in Ohio, and kind of coming in and doing a couple of nights during the season. Yeah.
I guest acted at a bunch of haunts over the years. It's funny. I was just trying to kind of guesstimate the math. The other night I think I've attended or at least seen the show of about 50 haunts in the country. I think I have volunteered for almost a dozen of them. And I have been either temporarily or full-time employed by about a handful of them. So, like I said, over the years, I just, between seasons or between kind of full-time jobs, I would guest act at as many haunts as I could. This is actually kind of a tip, I guess, I have for other kind of new actors in the game. I learned kind of quickly that a lot of haunts are volunteer cast. And if you're willing to volunteer for a haunt for one night or two nights, they will more than likely accept you, as long as you are kind of putting in the effort. So I thought, well, why don't I just go to every haunt around and ask them if I can volunteer for them? And luckily, I did that about 5 times, and pretty much every haunt said yes. They all allowed me to, come guest act for one night or 2 nights. And it was really fun. I did that for a year or 2, where I just kind of guest acted at a lot of different haunts. And it was amazing. It was a great learning experience to see how everyone else kind of does the same things, but differently. It was a really fun way to kind of get to experience like the variety of shows and haunts that are going on, So I'm very grateful, but I also try to put myself in a place, where the opportunities are. I go on the internet, I go on the websites, and I look for the jobs. I look for the chance, and I kind of put my name in the hat and hope for the best.
Were you going in with a certain character that you were using on a regular basis?
I would say for the most part, I brought my own costumes or characters. That's like I said, acting is one of my favorite parts about it, and getting to create my own characters, comes right with that. So I think I have like kind of a variety of characters, kind of ready to go all the time. I have a sliding werewolf or a talkative clown. Kind of kept a few characters, and if I was ahead of time, I would speak with the haunt and tell them, hey, I have these different characters. Sometimes they would try to kind of pick one that was fitting or similar to their theme, and other times they kind of left it up to me and asked me what I would prefer to do. Very often, though, it was, hey, we want you to slide. If you can slide here, we want a haunt slider. So I would say probably did that more often, at least during the guest acting.
So you've also done some stilt walking. Talk to me about that.
Yep. I've been a stilt walker for about 5 or 6 years now. I like to, I'm probably going to jinx myself by saying this, but I have a personal record of mine that I have never fallen on a pair of stilts in front of a live crowd. I have walked miles and
in front of a live crowd.
yes, exactly. Practice all the time, but I've walked, miles in 4th of July parades. I've walked miles inside of haunts. I've walked miles outside in queue lines. And I'm kind of personally proud to say I've never fallen in front of a live crowd before. But it's tough work too. Again, very physically demanding. Your legs are sore, your back hurts. I've done normal stilts. I really enjoy doing like the quad stilt creatures. I'm sure you've seen those. That it's like a kind of like a pair of crutches, like a crutch on each arm, and they're usually like a big pair of wings or a giant claw.
Yeah, those are cool.
I really, really enjoy doing like the quad stilt creatures. It's a lot easier on the back too, because you have 4 points of contact, easier to balance. But yeah, I just think they look awesome, especially in these parades, and kind of summer's coming up soon. Our parade promo season for the fog is happening, in a month or two. You're out there in the hot, sweaty sunlight, so I think something kind of very big and massive walking down the street behind a float is awesome.
So what do you do to get some to promote the haunt? You'll jump into you guys are you work your way into the 4th of July parade so that you can kind of get some publicity for the haunt? Yeah, we've done a couple like Independence Day parades the past couple years. Feel like we've got a good positive feedback from those. One of the characters or creatures we created specifically for it was a quad stilt, like giant crow. At the fog, we got like the Cornstalker's corn maze as one of the attractions, and they got scarecrows, pumpkin creatures, these big kind of ravens. So we called the quad stilt creature like the Baltimore Raven. Try to kind of make it local. It looked real good in pictures, though. I was super happy with the way that came out. But it was tough, man. I was the one in costume for these 4th of July parades, and it's like baking in an oven inside this costume. I had a couple actor managers walking around me just throwing bottles of cold water on me because it was so hot in there. But to see the reaction from the crowds and that just kind of feeds me, keeps me going during those long, hellish hot walks down the 4th of July parades. But I think it's worth it. It seems to be worth it. You've worked the House of Horror amusement park?
Yeah, House of Horrors amusement park in Miami. It was seasonal, only open, in the month of October. That was the first time I'd ever seen a haunted house packed into a shipping container. They had a bunch of shipping containers, and at the time I was not on like the behind the scenes crew or the build crew. I was just an actor, but I did get to see them kind of, open these containers, pull everything out, and then set up a haunted house. That was really, really amazing. That was the first time I ever kind of saw that happen. Also saw a lot of big numbers there too. Those were some of the biggest crowds I'd seen at the time. There was a big festival that was also included with the haunt and a live band and stuff. So it was a pretty big event.
How did you end up going to Australia?
It was awesome. I would say again, kind of, man, being very lucky and in the right place at the right time. I went to, I think it was an Midwest Haunters Convention. It might have been Trans World, maybe 2012, 2013. And I was just walking the trade show floor, kind of randomly grabbing everyone's business cards and flyers. And I like to collect them all. And then when I get back to the room, I kind of sort through them, find my favorites. And I had this business card that said, Haunt Actors Wanted for Australia. And there was an email on the back. And I sent a message in my resume to the email address and applied. But like very kind of random, it was a really like just a sign or something, I think, that just happened to pass by my way.
Were you responsible for your ticket there and back?
No, I was not. I did have to get a passport and all of my, kind of paperwork, ready and prepared. That was a pain in the butt. But, everything was legit. Everything worked out. It was funny. A couple of my family members, too, were really nervous. They're not very much into the haunt industry, let alone, they haven't been to Australia. So when I told them, I wanted to basically move to Australia to work in haunted houses, they had some questions, understandably. But they were super supportive, told me they had my back no matter what. They encouraged me to go and try it. And I did. And a big reason, going to Australia was, I already knew would be, awesome. But a big reason I did it was because it was, a 3-month gig. That was also kind of the first time that I got to haunt more than 1 month out of the year, which is what my goal has kind of always been. 1 weekend a month wasn't enough. 1 month out of a year wasn't enough. And this was a chance to get to do it 3 months out of the year.
Do they celebrate Halloween like we do here? Or what is that kind of, what is it like there?
It's not as popular, but it's not very far behind. I think the haunted house, the show we put on there was very popular. We got great reviews. We also won a gold ticket award for like the best attraction in the show. And this is, compared to big roller coasters and a lot of kind of family games. For the haunt to kind of win, one of the best overall attractions, I think was a good sign to say, hey, the haunt industry is really appreciated in Australia now.
So it was basically an amusement park that was setting up a haunt.
Yes, yeah, kind of. Australia has a couple like big, festivals, like national festivals that happen in the year. One of them being like the Royal Easter Show in Sydney. So for a week or two, all of these kind of attraction vendors bring their new games or new rides or new shows to, like you said, kind of this one big amusement park festival. And then just massive crowds come to these things all day. Up till then, I'd only worked on a, 5 or 7 hour show night. But in Australia, we were doing, 15-hour days. We opened the haunt at 7, 8 in the morning, and we went, till freaking 10 at night. So it's a different style of haunting, at least in that production. But that's just one example. I mean, there's a lot more haunted houses, I would say, in Australia that are similar or more to the normal haunted house type.
So they're taking cues from the American market as far as the haunts, except for their, they are doing things different their own way, but.
In my experience, getting to travel around just, the United States, getting to see how haunts in different states do it. Everyone's kind of got their own unique style and way of entertaining. And it's really cool to see the different cultures doing it.
Have you ever been up here to New England?
Man, I know there's at least like a dozen up there that I would love to hit on like one trip.
How did you end up working with Ed and Alan out at Dark Hour?
Again, I guess kind of just putting myself in the right place at the right time. Man, so lucky. So I was in Australia, and that show was coming to an end. I knew it was going to be closing up in a week or two, and that there was a good chance I would either be going back to America. But at the time, I kind of thought I was really enjoying Australia. There was a good chance I was going to stay there and try to extend my visa and go through that hassle. But I wouldn't get to haunt. I just thought, oh, well, I'll have to go wash dishes or, serve food. But, hey, I'll get to live in Australia. I said, but, just let me make sure. Let me double check the internet to see if there are any. And I Googled year-round haunted houses. And Dark Hour was one of the first responses that came up. And I went to their website and I clicked on the apply button. And I said, I want to do this all year. Sure, I could live in Australia, but I'd be washing dishes. I said, I want to do haunted houses. When I spoke with Dark Hour over the phone about working there full time, we kind of had an arrangement that I would need to be there in person at least once to kind of interview. And I told them, hey, I'm in Australia right now. I can't. I'm not just down the street. But I didn't have a whole lot of money. Just what I had made from that show. And I just want to say, I took a gamble on myself. I took the leftover savings money I had. I bought the plane ticket. And I literally flew to Dallas with 2 duffel bags, stayed in a hotel room for one night, and then went to interview at Dark Hour the very next morning. So I'd interviewed with Alan. There's even a moment where he asked me, if we don't hire you, what are you going to do? And I said, well, I'm not going to stay here. I don't have a job I have 2 duffel bags. I might go back to Australia. And he said, well, don't. He said, don't. We'll give you a 2-week internship. Give me a chance to prove myself. And I took it. I stayed in that hotel room for almost another year because luckily after the 2-week internship, they extended me to a full-time employee. And I was, I thought I'd made it. Like there it was. I got to, kind of be a full-time haunter all year round. That to me was like it. I made it. So it was good. It felt really, really good to kind of just get there. And, the amount I learned there and the experiences I had there, the people I met there, is just countless amounts of good times, countless amounts of learning, and just becoming a better person.
Prior, all your work experience was pretty much you were sliding, you were acting, you were doing like queue line, whatever, but you weren't doing a lot of building, the hands-on stuff behind the scenes. Am I correct?
Yeah, I had way more experience as an actor, or even an actor trainer. I had made a couple props. I made my own costumes. But I had not built a lot of or designed even, full sets. I had volunteered for a lot of haunts, painting walls black and splashing blood on furniture. But yeah, up till then, I hadn't ever kind of, built or helped build projects that big before. And I knew it too. I knew it going in, I kind of had a film degree and I was doing a lot of digital, video work and stuff at the time. But I knew I wanted to get better with my hands. It was an area that wasn't one of my strengths, and I saw potential to develop my skills to become more valuable to haunted houses. So I jumped right in. I went in with open eyes, teach me anything, show me anything, and I just soaked it in. There are so many good people that worked at Dark Hour. I was just a sponge, just whatever someone said, I was like, yes, let's do it. Yeah. You want a good funny story about Ed?
Yeah, definitely.
I got a good funny story about
Hopefully
Ed.
Embarrassing, but no, that's okay.
Not as bad, but I can feel him already cringing too, I'm sure. So I'm in the back of the shop at dark hour building, some prop or something. And Ed and Alan come walking in with a safety harness, like straps and buckles. Ed holds it up and Ed's like, we want you to wear this. And I was like, okay, for what? And they're like, we want you to try something. And, when Ed comes up to you with a safety harness telling you he wants you to try something, you get nervous. Like, oh, boy.
We just want you to climb into this cannon. Don't worry about it. It's going to be fine.
Yes, that was it, so I assumed it was going to be something kind of sketchy. But like I said, these guys are pros, man. I've seen them go big before. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. Whatever it is, at least you got a safety harness, like safety first. I'm in. Let's go. It turned out to be we climbed to the top of one of the sets in the show, in the haunt, and we're about 10, 12 feet up in the air, and I'm wearing the safety harness, and Ed kind of straps me into this like cable rig that's attached to the trusses of the building, and he clicks me in and he says, all right, buddy, you're all good. I said, well, what do you want me to do? He said, walk off the building. I was like, what? Are you crazy? He's like, yeah, just walk off, man. Don't worry. The thing will catch you. And again, I had full trust. It seemed sketchy, but I knew they would not be asking me to walk off, a 10-foot, tall set if it was not safe. So I did it. I took 2 steps forward, fell off the edge. The harness caught me and slowly lowered me down to the ground, safe and sound. And that was kind of my first experience doing that sort of level of stunt work in a haunted house. I've done haunt sliding and stilt walking, and for me, that was kind of the next level. Now we're getting into descender rigs. But I guess at some point they thought I was pretty good at it. So then they hooked me up to a cable. Then they hooked me up to a bungee. Then they hooked me up to a magnet wall. And I just kept doing it. Like it was a lot of fun. I'm kind of a smaller dude, but pretty strong, I guess. So I was able to kind of contort my body into performing some of these, very physically demanding acting roles. And it was awesome. I love it. Stunt acting is super fun. Super, super fun. Very sore.
Is your body paying the price now, or?
I wonder. My knees. Yeah, I can feel it in my knees now. A night of sliding. I definitely want to go home and ice those down. Maybe I'm just getting older. It's haunt, man. Haunt sliding is definitely a young man's game. You got to be rubbery. You got to be able to bounce back from those things. So I've kind of, even at dark hour too, like I kind of switched over into training then, because I'd done so many stunts myself. I really wanted to, or dark hour really wanted to kind of build a team of people who could kind of perform these extra physically difficult roles. And it helped, then I didn't have to do it all the time.
Now, you were with Dark Hour for a couple of years, like what, just 2 years?
Yes. Yeah, I think I worked at Dark Hour for about 2 years. Probably did about 16 different shows just within that short time frame. So it was amazing. It was go, go, go. Almost every month, a new show. It was awesome.
So what happened? Why'd you part ways?
Oh, man, it's kind of heartbreaking. It's really tough. I had some personal kind of family issues going on back home in Ohio, and I had to go home and take care of them.
Yeah.
And those issues kind of lasted a lot longer than I was hoping and we were hoping. And, unfortunately, they had to fill the position at Dark Hour. I couldn't be there to do everything they needed me to, and I totally understood. Definitely got to have someone doing it. So by the time, my kind of schedule opened up a little bit, that position was filled again, and it was like, all right, well, I need to keep haunting. Where can I go next?
So you bopped around doing a bunch of guest acting for the next year?
Yes. Yeah. Then that was it. I went back to guest acting. I figured, well, let me try out a few more haunts, places I haven't been, and get to play with the actors there, get to speak with the owners, and see if we click. Again, it's all volunteer. I put in the time, I put in the effort to go to these places, contact these places, volunteer my time to kind of show them what I could do, and hope that they like it.
Then it brings you to the Legends of the Fog.
So I'm at Legends of the Fog now, getting to, again, kind of year-round haunts. I've been hired to do a lot of the production management side of things. I think mainly that's because again, I'm not super great at anything, but I have some knowledge in a lot of little things. And so I kind of, have been able to help mediate, being the guy with my hands in the dirt and my boot in the ground, to communicate with the other managers and other staff to get everybody what they need, to put on a good show.
Now, I'm not familiar with Legends. Is that been around for a number of years, or is it more of a new haunt?
Actually, this year is Legends of the Fog's 13th year. So they've been at it a while, started out, let's say, kind of small, it's just a close family with a bunch of friends. And they were scaring people way before I ever got here. And they, I guess, scared so many people so well that, they had the chance to expand and grow and, hire on some full-time staff. I spend all of my time thinking about Legends, planning Legends, building Legends, loving Legends. It's awesome. I feel, again, super lucky, very blessed that I get to do something I love for a living. It's not all glitters and gold. Even though I love what I do, there's still difficult times. I run into obstacles and problems, and build projects all day long. I like to say what I do is more of just creative problem solving. It's tough. It's not easy. It's a lot of fun. So you really got to have a passion and a love for it to kind of do it every day.
What's the size of the haunt?
Man, we're huge. Like, I would say we have 2 indoor attractions. Those are about 20-minute walkthroughs. Probably we have an outdoor corn maze. That's probably like a 30-minute walkthrough. Then we also have a haunted hayride out in the woods, which is like a wagon, tractor-pulled wagon, and that's probably about 25 minutes long. So overall, you're getting a good hour and a half's worth of show, which I think is super impactful. It's high energy. There's a good variety of characters and scares, themes and designs. Like, I like to think there's a little something for everybody in there.
Is there an overall theme?
Yeah, so Legends of the Fog are the legends are based around this spooky, eerie green fog that kind of permeates the land. There's something supernatural about this fog that it's turning, let's say, the townspeople into mutants, kind of poisoning the land. And now these supernatural animal creatures are coming back to fight for it. That's kind of like the overarching story. Each attraction does have its own unique theme. The one indoor attraction's like a old school Victorian manor that's been remodeled in like an Art Deco fashion. So that's really cool. Super pretty in there. Very beautiful, like wallpaper and distressing techniques. The corn maze is a lot of like supernatural animal creature hybrids, scarecrows, Baltimore ravens. The hayride is very industrial, kind of post-apocalyptic war zone, mutants battling it out for supremacy.
Nice.
And then to top it off, the cherry on top, the sinister circus, right, where you got the psycho clowns trying to get you to run away and join the show with them. It's very cool variety of themes. And we try to make sure and focus that, that there is, I don't want to sound redundant, but a little something for everyone.
You're living the dream right now.
Yes, 100%. 100%. Super happy, man. Like, super blessed, super lucky. I do pat myself on the back. I've worked very hard. I've tried to learn a lot. I've spent a lot of money, going to conventions and seminars. And I've been blessed to work with some of the very best in the industry just by happenstance. I'm very lucky. I'm very happy. It feels like it's working,
I had delusions at the end of last season, and I actually started talking to Dick Terhune and Ed about what if I was to go into the business, what's the process look like? And this was a number of episodes ago. And by the time I was done with this and starting to do some research, and I'm going, wait a minute, there's no way I could do this without having some really great people. Like if I was in a family environment and I had a bunch of other crazy sons of bitches in my family like me, I'm kind of that like lone wolf oddball who really is into this, and nobody else none of my friends are in. I mean, outside of my haunt friends, none of my old friends are into this kind of stuff. Nobody I really know in my normal day-to-day life is into this. So trying to build a group, if I was surrounded by people in my area, then we were all super into it. I could see, let's give it a shot and start out something small and go from there. I'm looking at this going, no, I would have to try to hire these people and bring them in and train them. And I just can't see this happening. I've never guest acted at any haunts. I'm actually thinking about reaching out to, I don't know where the closest haunt to me is probably at least over an hour. But maybe even just doing a guest night or something and just trying to just getting a taste of it. I've never had a taste of working in a pro haunt. I go to pro haunts every year, but I've never worked at them. I can do my own thing here, and I do like a little walkthrough. Though I think this year might be it. I may not be doing my walkthrough anymore. It's too much headache with the neighbors and all the bullshit. So I was thinking, do the big display and put on the somewhat show without doing any type of walkthrough this year, and give out candy and do photo ops and crap. Try to get a few scares here and there, but to get the scare and to get my haunt on, start reaching out to some local haunts and seeing if I can jump in a couple of nights and just to kind of fill that emptiness I'm gonna have from not doing my own little walkthrough.
Fill that, get your haunt fix in.
Exactly. You inspired me, my friend. I'm going to start I'm going to be one of these haunt carnies, and I'm going to be traveling the country. I'm going to go buy an RV, and I'm just going to sell my house and get the hell out of here.
You are right. I mean, I'm living out of a hotel room right now as we speak.
I want to do another trip down to Texas and go down to the Dallas-Fort Worth area and check out that whole area and stop in and visit Ed and Alan down at Dark Hour and check out behind the scenes and stuff. Great
shows around the Dallas area too. Like a handful, if not like a dozen awesome haunts.
Wow.
Yes. That's a good area for good shows. Yeah, man, do it. Like, just, I encourage everyone, like, if you love it so much, like, there's a lot of different ways to do it. It doesn't have to be kind of that cookie cutter way you see the biggest and best haunts do it. Like, that's why they're the biggest and best, because they do it that way. But over the years, I found, a lot of smaller ways to kind of just, like you said, get my haunt fix in, because I love doing it. And it was, I've made a lot of sacrifices. I've had to travel a lot, sleep out of my car sometimes, live that carny life.
Live in the van down by the
river. Yes. But I get to haunt. I get to make haunts, so it's worth it. I'm sure one day I'll probably get tired and want a bigger house or something, but I'm not in it for the money. I'm in it for the love of doing it. I think most haunters are like that as well too, because the money's not great, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can't see how you could go into it for that or try to expect. Like I say, if you can make a livable wage. I've also been watching a lot of like videos on minimalism and things of that nature, where people are saying, you know what? if you just cut out all the bullshit and you get rid of things that you don't need and stop spending money on useless shit, right? It frees you up to do a lot of things that you really want to do, because you're not worried about it. You don't need to have a McMansion. You don't need to have a freaking stupid $500, $600 lease on a car or whatever it is. You don't need all that crap. Just cut the bullshit out, slim down, and it gives you all this freedom, to have more fun and enjoy life. And I'm really taking that to heart and saying, you know what, there's a lot to be said about that.
Yeah, there's pros and cons, but I don't have any fancy furniture, no couches or chairs. I don't own a big TV. I have a few duffel bags, and mostly it's, regular clothes and haunt clothes. Everything I own pretty much fits in my car, and I didn't plan life to be that way, but I kind of realized, these were some of the circumstances I had to meet in order to kind of pursue my passion and my goals. So it kind of came with the territory. It might not be for everybody, and I'm probably not even doing it the best way possible, but it's somehow working for me, and I'm enjoying it right now. So, I'm happy.
Cheers, brother.
Yeah.
Excellent. Good for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Any other words of wisdom, or was that pretty much it?
No, now the pressure's on to say something cool on the way out. Right. Stay scary. Live that haunt life. Boo. All those good things. Yeah, exactly.
Excellent. Hey, man, I appreciate it. This is fun. Good times.
This is awesome, man. I'm super happy to get to talk to another haunter. I'm collecting, fan favorites. This is super cool.
Great, man. I appreciate it, and I'll catch you around the net.
Thank you.
I'm going now. Heaven help you.
Please like and follow the podcast. Stalk us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Links in the description. And help us by sharing Hauntcast with all your haunted Halloween brethren. Until next time, stay scary.